we go with another chess video, and this time in English language. And you may complain, or you may notice, or you may say, this guy doesn't know what he's about to do or what he's trying to do. Of course, I would like to address quite a few people, as many as I can. And yeah, okay, I found some chess videos, for example, recently from Garry Kasparov. And what language is he using? Of course, it's English. So why not? I mean, Peter Swidler, also Russian, makes his videos in English. Jan Gustafsson, for example, switches languages, sometimes English, sometimes German. So, I mean, we all should get used to that, and we all should somehow learn this language, or at least, yeah, be ready at any point to watch the videos, whatever it is, in English language. You always have to be prepared, be ready for that. And if I switch between football and chess, or maybe some other subjects even, okay, of course I'm still trying to reach some people and find some interesting stuff to talk about, and of course always with a certain viewpoint that I hope that has not been heard or before the way I present it. And here you may all recognize this position, or you don't, but I'm going to tell you the story about it. And of course with it I will definitely, well, it is a different approach, or it is a different kind of reporting, or things worth noting about this position and the game itself. It has been played in St. Louis yesterday, 19th of August, we have the 20th now, 2018, between Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces and Sergei Karjakin with the black pieces. And I had been watching once again the show. I stopped it in between and I watched later at night because I had something else to do, some football stuff. But you can pause the video and so on. And when I watch it at midnight, it makes no difference to me. I do not know the results. I was hiding the results. I do not want to know. Although some games had been finished. But actually yesterday, well, almost around this position, all the other games had been finished, or maybe, well, they were about to finish. So it was just this one game going on for maybe 2 hours or more, in which just Magnus Carlsen played Sergei Karjakin. And watching the show from Seirawan, Yasser Seirawan, Jennifer Shahade, and Maurice Ashley. I mean, I'm always, I'm very positive. I say that that's a great show, and they contributed a lot to distributing, sharing chess to the world, and it's getting better and better, and you can see that. And it's also, well, it is getting more and more professional, which means in the end they will make some money with it, obviously. And you can gift, I actually thought about it, ordering a t-shirt, because just, well, why shouldn't I support it when I make use of it? And I would of course ask you to do the same. If you like it, why not spend some money? And if you get a t-shirt or something like that, Sinquefield Cup 2018, or there was another nice one with a chess piece on your t-shirt, in a nice design, not just a chess piece. So why not wearing it and ordering it and wearing it? Okay, and okay, I like the show, and I think they've done a lot, and they've achieved a lot, and they reach more and more people. Okay, now into the game. And still, there are some things that I find at least worth noting about it. And this is, of course, the computers. Computer assessment and so on. And somewhere they lose the ground, what would you say? Feet to the ground, or you leave the ground, I don't know. It was very obvious that Magnus Carlsen was going to go into this ending. And I mean, yeah, there is even, I mean, you could find an instant checkmate here, which is sometimes a bit funny, right? Why doesn't it? No, this is annoying. It's something to do with my mouse. Just to show you checkmate here in one move. Oh! So it was pretty close to Karjakin winning the game, right? Queen e2, very obvious move. And obviously also by playing Queen g5 you would expect him to have the intention to trade the queens. That's what he did. And of course here, well, thinking about this position, I mean, agreeing to a draw because there's unequal bishops, opposite colored bishops, there's no point in that. I mean, you got two rooks and you got this nice pawn structure, and here you would say this is a better piece than this one, very obvious, because this one is already targeting a point. Even if it's, which happened later, it's still got something to attack, while this one is rather in some jeopardy, you could say. I mean, I lost a piece once by, like that. Someone, so you may have played, I mean, I make a random move, okay, let's go for this one. I make this move, and he played this, I played this, so to say. He played this, and of course I thought, well, what's this about? And of course I did see this, and here in this case he could even hit here because the rook is not protected. But anyway, that was the way I lost the piece. He made f takes g4 later, and the bishop was gone. I still came away with a draw. Anyway, just to show you an idea here. But, of course, this bishop is also good. Bad bishops covering good pawns. It's always going to protect this pawn. I mean, what I would like to point out is also the interview afterwards with Magnus Carlsen. When they, you know, when you always look at the computer, what it says about it, then you forget to notice what humans think. And this is what I would like to point out. And although Magnus Carlsen is the one who's the least human, I mean, when he makes a mistake or loses a game after 20 wins, I mean, you know what I mean, he's winning every tournament, or he's only second or third. But then he makes a mistake in one game. Maybe, well, at least we can see he's still human. Because he makes an error that all the others make all the time, or we make all the time, and all those grandmasters with a much lower frequency. But, so he's the least human because he makes the least mistakes. And still this way of thinking. And when he talked about this position or this whole ending, then he said, well, he was sure there was one point, and I'm sure he thought that, and this was not just a random idea. He was sure that at some point he could sacrifice the exchange, which was going to happen. Okay, you may all know, but this is the way a human, which is least human, because he's not human. He's too good. But humans still, it's representing somehow the way of thinking, right? I might be able to sacrifice the exchange, and then it could be one-way traffic, which you could say about this position already, right? I do not know the exact moves here. Did he play? I mean, I do not know the move order here, and it doesn't matter really. I mean, he played this move at some point, he played this move at some point. Carlsen shuffled around his pieces. He came here at some point. He played the rook over here, and he played his king here, and he went back with his king, and he placed this bishop here at some point. Whose move is it? White's move. It doesn't make this much of a difference, right? But somewhere he played this move, and then there was this great idea that some other grandmaster pointed out. I mean, I'm not, you know, you can never be sure how soon they would ask the computer themselves. But if it's a deep idea, I'm quite happy to show that. I mean, to say, well, black can't do anything, and now you would go with, and you just make, and you would just walk around with this rook, right? Because the G pawn is never gonna attack your rook here, right? Or trouble your rook, because you always get this F6, and you can't move any of these pawns. So, and then in the end, you're gonna play G4, right? So, I mean, great idea, and then have G5, right? Get G5 in. We could still talk about maybe he's gonna double on the B file, and maybe he's gonna sack here, right? If all his pieces are away from the king side. But, or from the queen side, of course. And anyway, so seeing such ideas, that's great, and you learn. And actually, well, yeah, understanding, seeing some computer moves. What Carlsen did was human in the end, because he just made the move G4 at some point, right? And there was a trade here, and king coming here, and this rook went here at some point, and he went here. And I'm not sure about this very, very certain position, because at some point, did he move this rook? No, I think I have to set up this position, right? Okay. Or, okay, I'm gonna set up the position like this. I mean, this, it's just, you know, as long as no pawns are moving, you just try to improve your pieces, right? So, what is it, this position? And, okay. No, I have to lose another move. How do I do it? Like this. No, it's again the wrong sides to move. Whose move is it now? Well, anyway, it's black to move. And here, this is the position they had on the board. And here, I mean, this guy, Maurice Ashley, right? He's very good, okay, you simply do like him when you hear him. He may have improved, or he did improve, like we all are allowed to, you know, get even better. Why wouldn't he? And I heard some commentary about him to being too American. But if you see this position, and the computer comes up with this absolutely silly move, crazy move. This is computer chess, right? Forget about this move. And then this question, this is what well, it does start annoying me a bit, but only because I say, well, sit on the board and find this move. Go ahead, dear Mr. Ashley. You won't find it, right? It is not there. It does not exist. This is computer. I mean, you can say this is when we learn from studies, right? Or we used to learn, you know, when I was growing up. I used to learn from studies. And then you have to expect the unexpected. And you have to find the moves that are just not on the board. They do not exist, right? And you have to find them. But you know in advance, this is going to be the position here, where you have to find this move, right? But this is Yasser Seirawan, one of the very, very best players in the world. And there's sitting Magnus Carlsen right next to him, who's the #1. Okay, but you can ask them, or you can ask anyone. No one in the world would find this move. If you want to learn, maybe one day you can say, well, every position is a study, because there's a computer who's going to show us the solution, and we do not know it. And maybe then you would be ready to find such a move. And of course we can learn from that. Why shouldn't we learn? I mean, this is a move. First of all, I'm just talking about this move. The probability for a human to find this move. And then we can look at the move. What makes it so good, right? Sorry. If you know this is a study and there is a solution, then still it is very hard to find. But forget about it and over the board and grandmaster or best player in the world or second best, forget it. Learning from it is another point. And of course we are allowed to learn from that and look at it. What does this move achieve, right? What is the difference? I mean, why wouldn't I go here? Okay. I mean, it is pretty obvious. Maybe you say, well, Karjakin, of course, would not consider king g6 because it's silly. But for us to understand, or I'm pointing out, what is the difference? We have the h-file already, and we also trap the king, right? There is the threat of f4, f5, checkmate. But of course, the bishop can still move. Anyway, and Maurice Ashley says after a while, I mean, first of all, yeah, okay, we got this move, and this is one of those incredible moves. Forget about it. I mean, yeah, okay, now he talks about, is he gonna find it? Is he gonna find it? And then as if you were disappointed that he didn't find this move. I mean, this is forgetting about what chess is about or what he learned about chess, right? Okay, anyway, why is it so good? And why do the engines, as he usually says, the engines give 0.0, let's say, I mean more or less, maybe plus 0.1. Because this is fighting for the h-file. This is the only move fighting for the h-file. Because you couldn't fight for it right away. If you do so, you give up the attack on the e2 pawn. So here, white is ready. I mean, you wouldn't, or even g5, I'm not sure. But because, yeah, this was one of those points in such a position. You can play g5 because after king g6 or anything you can take here, you're gonna win a pawn. And if he takes, it's gonna take back. g7 is attacked. Well, how would you protect? Obviously some trouble for black and no h-file for him, right? So king h6 is in some sense also stopping the move g5, right? Why? I mean, it does make sense if you study it for long enough. You can't play rook d1 now because e2 is en pris. You need to spend 2 moves at least, bishop d4 and e3 to get to the h-file. And in the meantime, black can play, of course, rook h8 at some. Well, white wouldn't just simply get to the h-file, and he can't play g5. So this is multi-purpose. Anyway, I mean, we may understand it after a while, and of course, like in any study, and when you solve a study or you see a solution, you will always say, oh, great, and I found something new, and maybe I will remember next time yeah. So this is how all the good players said they improved by looking at studies. Okay, king h6 simply is not a human move, I insist on that, and still we can put it on the board and still we can try to understand and say, wow, but do not expect anyone in the world to make this move. Set it up as a study for your students and then say, well, what is the best move for black here? And you have to wait couple of decades until someone says king h6. I know that. No. Anyway, what did Karjakin do? And here is one more funny thing about it, right? Because none of these grandmasters, and you can say, okay, I admire them, they all, okay, they are much better than myself, and so on. But no one, so this is what I'm saying, they forget about chess, or they forget about the roots, or, right? Well, what a human thinks here. I mean, if the engine does not show this move, they do not consider. But this is the human move, right? Can you see that? And then in the next moment, there's another such chance to point out the way humans are thinking. Right? I mean, this is what Carlsen played now. And he was waiting for this opportunity. And you can say, well, there are plenty of ways to make some progress. As I said right now, bishop d4 and e3, it's not full rubbish. And I'm sure Carlsen knows that. Why should he move this early, the e-pawn? There's still a lot of time and other things to do. I showed the idea with g5 and so on. And of course it's always on, and there are ways for white to improve. But actually his pieces are pretty well placed. Anyway, the chance was there, and he took his chance to sack the exchange. But this is what I'm trying to get back to. And later in the interview, Magnus Carlsen said, well, he was sure at some point he could sack the exchange. None of these grandmasters ever mentioned even the possibility of sacrificing the exchange. Now, what did Karjakin play in this position? I mean, this is maybe this is a human move, and it's not even such a difficult one, the one he played. The suggestions may go different. But what would you, I mean, there is a threat in this position. Call it a threat, right? There is the threat. White is going to pick up another pawn. What is the meaning of this pawn? Okay, it stops white from creating a passed pawn. There's no passed pawn on the board. But even after rook c4, there's a long way to go for white to get a passed pawn on this. What would black achieve by protecting it? By defending against this awful threat of rook? You can say, well, why didn't he play this move? Okay, then we can come here. a5 doesn't work, rook 8. Then you well, okay, you set up your pieces like that, right? And then you hope for a draw, or what would you do? I mean, they talked about this move, king g6, which is a very, very decent move, right? I mean, you open a file for your rook, and there is not a lot of files the rooks can go to, right? They are all pretty well closed, right? There's just the h file, and now he won the fight for the h file, or unless Carlsen does not take this pawn. But what would he do with his rook on h5? Anyway, it would be maybe a decent move. But what he did was, of course, play rook c5. But now they talked about this move of king g6 as if it were an oversight or something like that. Why did he gift him another pawn? Well, what I find amazing about this is, first of all, I mean, you can't do much when you play through the game. Then you see the bar there flicking around about the computer. If you wish to see it or not, you can't do much about it. But anyway, there was no move of the bar, right? So no error at all when you move king g6. But in this moment, obviously they do not understand chess, or I mean, they are always referring to computer's evaluation. But in this case, we do not need to, right? Because he gifted him a pawn. But in this case, it's so obvious that all those defending moves to stop white from winning this pawn are not helping black, really, right? What you need is some active places for your rooks. That's all. I mean, you can say, well, the rook does not have a lot to do on the h file either. But first of all, you would like to have him in the back of the white king, right? Because you want to have some checks from behind. And then you can say, well, also I can foresee at some point I'm gonna attack here or here, and maybe sacrifice my rook for the exchange back for 1 pawn, and maybe with 3 against 4 I can hold a draw. But anyway, to understand this position, why is rook, now bishop and 1 pawn in this position better than a rook? Bishop and 1 pawn, that's all that white has got. Well, first of all, I mean, we got a very secure place for this bishop, and it's covering all the pawns, or it's, yeah, you can't remove it, right? All the other pawns are in fine shape. That is a perfect formation, and the bishop is attacking something, right? And there are absolutely no pawn breaks for black, right? I mean, you have that break f5, but what would you achieve with it, right? I mean, there is a trade, there may be a trade, but the side for the bishop gets a bit longer, and this, at best you can get a trade, right? This is not a major achievement, and especially white can stop this by playing e4. So actually no pawn breaks at all. So this is what makes white's position better. But if it's better, this is this much, right? For the computer as well, but also for humans, and they all know, and Carlsen knew that, and he says afterwards, well, I know this is gonna be a draw, but I'm still playing, right? And who's gonna try for the win, and who's gonna try for a draw? And this is very, very obvious. It is white gonna trade. Actually, there was a phone call in the studio, and I accept those, and they actually asked people to do so and call there. There was someone asking why would other players agree on a draw or things like that, and they all simultaneously gave the answer. Any white player would be happy. And then when they said any grandmaster, actually Seirawan corrected, well, this goes pretty far down the rankings. When white would still try to, well, white is in the driver's seat here. White is making the attempts, and any player would go on who understands, well, a little bit of chess, right? You can't lose. Black is happy to sacrifice, as I said, at some point, maybe exchange those, and even get into a game 2 against 3 or something like that. You would be quite happy. Although, maybe if it's not forced, you would still not do it. If he's not forced to. Okay, so any move defending this c-pawn was not any better, but they talked about it as if this was a gift by Karjakin. I didn't understand it. Which I still would say, well, why don't they notice that the computer in this case did not even make the smallest of moves in his evaluation? Now, black is, this is the game, this is how the game went on. And Karjakin was trying to get some, and I can't remember all those moves, right? And they are not that important. He was pushing this pawn at some point, and he was shuffling around his king. He played e4 at some point. He gave a check here, and he was actually at some point, well, here would be rook c6, right? This is what he stopped. How did they play this? I mean, I would say, of course, he did not allow this to happen, and I have to set up a position that does make some sense at least. And this rook went somewhere else. Oh, it went to d4, I would say. So it went to d4 at some point, and those rooks went to the C file. I mean, this is just, I'm just traveling around the pieces a bit to get into a position that makes sense again, right? So at some point, this was the position, right? And even rook came here, and then okay, this is the way he tried to stop, Carlsen tried to stop that exchange sacrifice, right? Because now it would be 2 points, right? So we did arrive at this position. I mean, not the single moves are those that matter. Or actually, this is not quite the position. Instead, it was like this. Okay? And here, this is an important decision. Okay, it was white's move, so we have to lose a move again. Okay, this was the position when he decided to play f4. And of course, this is a big decision, you could say. Or was it here? Or was the rook on b7 then? Because he could have sacked this without the... Okay, so I was right. The rook was... The rook was on b7. Okay. Well, there was this chance to sacrifice here. And then we would have king h4. And now, well, okay, I'm wrong again. Because the rook was on d7 in this moment. Okay, I'm very sorry for that. So we would have the move e7. No, I don't have a free move here, right? Okay, rook was there. Okay, now this was f4. And okay, I shouldn't argue too much about this, right? It's simply it's losing for black, I would say. It is losing. I mean, if he attacks this a5 pawn, there would always be rook d5, right? But we would start like this, and if he goes here, I mean, there would also be rook d8 now to force the king back. But imagine this position, and he took here, then we would have g5, and then we would have g6, and now this is checkmate, right? I mean, I just, this was what my calculation told me, right? I mean, he was waiting for the chance, and he thought maybe he can stop white from playing f4. This is what I was always trying to point out. And actually, well, maybe I should enter the moves in the regular order and then show you as if I knew it. I'm trying to come to the positions that do matter. And maybe Karjakin was trying to stop f4 by setting up this exchange sacrifice threat, so to say, and getting the pawn with check. But it makes not much of a difference, perfectly well as white's pieces are placed, other pieces, right? So we had this moment, and then I think he went back here, and so there are not many choices, and then he followed that rook here, and maybe went like this, and he came here. Yeah, there was at some point was the move rook d4. Okay, so he played this, and he was trying again to stop those. Okay, now we have another very important moment here. But whose move is it? Okay, black to move. He didn't go here. He went here. Okay. Okay. I was trying to find the position when he played b4, right? I mean, here he would shake off the attack on this by playing this, and after rook e5, oh, bishop d6 does not work because a5 is hanging. Okay. I mean, black has to find some moves, and there was also indicated at some point the move king f3, right? Why isn't it going backwards? I mean, here it's now rook c6, but a move like king f3. I'm trying to figure out how this game went on, right? There was also the idea of playing e5 and capturing king e4, right? Followed by... so in this moment, Karjakin must have given up but he played b4, and this was actually the point when Maurice Ashley once again said, the engines don't like this move, right? The engines don't like this move. Once again. I mean, you came to this position with white, right? Now you think, well, how do I progress here, right? How do I make any progress? I think the best move was given with a king f3. But you still would not like to play this because you're afraid of rook coming to d file. Oh, I said main line. And then maybe checks here and so on. But there's bishop d4, bishop e3 and so on. But anyway, when you I mean, now you get this far and you say, well, what is black gonna do, right? All my pieces are well placed now. So I'm gonna push a pawn. Why not? I mean, actually, there is the idea of, I mean, you can still move this bishop, bring it here, and then somewhere play b5, and then a6, a7 or so, right? And this is another human move, and you have to keep in mind that here somewhere the time was starting to become short, right? So they were playing rather and actually he went, no, he didn't go down here, but at some point, wait, this is the most annoying to me, right? And actually there was so I have to make another move. I have to make this move maybe, and maybe make a random move, and then make this move, and then maybe this move, and then this move. And then we had this check here, right? And this was once again well, here it was black to move, right? So what am I gonna play? Oh no, I think Carlsen, well, at least at some point he played rook e1. I mean, forget about these details of, there may be better moves now for either side, right? But at least he said, and I can say it at some point, I mean, I may be thinking human or something like that, right? They wouldn't understand why didn't Karjakin make this move, right? And I didn't hear the interview with Karjakin, and if he even gave one, right? But he seemed to be pretty relaxed after the game. But of course, it seems that White's winning chances are based on the fact that he got a rook and a good bishop and this whole structure here, and maybe the chances to attack the king even via the g file or the g7 point with the rooks. But here he said after the game, well, he could have traded rooks at some point, which they didn't. Well, they just said the computer moves from now on. They said, well, rook d1, why not rook d1? Go ahead. And maybe it even said 000. That's what Maurice Ashley used to say, 000. It's a draw. But Carlsen said simply, well, he did have the chance to trade rooks, but I was intending, and this is the line that I calculated, because they didn't mention this, or at least there is a path for White to still get through, right? And Carlsen said, well, if he's short on time and so on. But this was, at least I can say, this was a line that I saw myself, and where I thought, well, how is he going to defend against this, right? I mean, you can say, well, make a pass for yourself. Well, you wouldn't wish to defend this position for sure, and maybe it's clearly lost. That's the case, and maybe sometimes the computer gives a very quick evaluation and doesn't even go this far, right? It says check, I win a pawn, and so on. But I know how good they are. But sometimes you have to give them a second to find this. Anyway, so but Carlsen was fully relaxed on this, and you said, well, okay, so he could have traded rooks. But how could I lose this position, first of all? And then there is a simple plan. You play e5, and you walk in with a king. What do you do with black, right? What do you do against this plan? And he does not have a computer in this moment. All he has is, well, I'm going to think straightforward. How can I make progress? And I found a way. So they said as if it was an oversight from both sides. And I'm pretty sure that Karjakin instead knew very well what he was doing. So, and here comes the proof. And in this moment, his clock went down to Karjakin's clock. he was always ahead, like a minute, but at 2 minute 19, or at this point, he may have had 4 minutes and Carlsen something with 2. And then he thought for about 4 minutes in this position. And until the clock was down to maybe 10 seconds, something like that, 12 or something like that. And if they try to make a drama from that, I mean, it's fine. Okay, you do that because you want to have some excitement for the spectators. But I said he was pretty relaxed and he knew pretty well what he was doing. And here was the opportunity when he said once again, well, is Karjakin going to find this move? And after the game, they were asking Carlsen, why did he take so much time for it if he saw it? Well, this is, for me, this is absolutely ridiculous now. First of all, yeah, okay, you could say, well, what would you ask him also, right? But it's a bit... I mean, and did he expect it? Were you shocked by this move? I mean, they all know what's going on, unlike those commentators, I have to say, right? Because they do not seem to know what's going on, right? Here, this is a very human move, and the big question for Karjakin was just, is it good? And that's all. And that's also what Carlsen thought about it. I mean, he saw it, he expected it, and then he was like, oh, he found it! With 10 seconds on the clock, he found it. I mean, he was just thinking, is it any good? And that's all, right? He knows very well. And he thought maybe also about the difference between G5 and G6, right? Because after the attack on the F6 pawn was given up by white, right? There's always this chance, right? And you're looking forward for some trades, right? But then Carlsen, I mean, he doesn't, and it seems, well, if you did not hear the commentary live, which Carlsen did not, obviously, then maybe, well, you do not quite know what's going on. Why is he asking this silly question also, right? So he asked very, well, the way you were just asking, what, were you surprised? Well, what do you mean? I mean, there's G5, and he instantly took, actually, right? Because he was well prepared for that move. And why did Karjakin wait for this long? Well, because he wasn't sure if it's any good. So this is really funny. And then he said, maybe because I get a passed pawn. And now this is how the game went on. And now, opposing to the position before, white, well, is it any progress? I mean, there were some trades which you are not so happy about. On the other hand, you say, well, at long last I did get my passed pawn, right? So this is also some kind of achievement. And here, we get back to that later, right? Here, Carlsen played rook h1. And this was very obvious, and you can say, well, if you play an amateur, he might really, well, be a bit afraid. But this was, of course, the move everyone would expect, and also Karjakin did. And so he played this perfect reply. Because rook h6, you are gonna lose. I mean, this is the move you would like the most. Then there would be king. Well, actually, it's not losing here. But I was sure, well, the rook must have been here. Well, why do I say that? The rook on e8. I mean, I was sure the position on the board, it was losing because of rook e5. And so I should not set up a wrong position. Rook was on e8. Well, how would I arrange pieces now, rearrange the pieces? And, okay, I have to admit that was not rook. So we're gonna play here. We're gonna play here. We're gonna play here. And we're gonna play here. And here's when he played g5, right? It's not such a big difference, but the difference shows maybe here. So g5, took here, rook h1. And now, in fact, because otherwise it seemed as if, with the rook on d8, it seems as if this was winning, right? Because if there is no rook e5 check, white is actually, well, made some progress at least with the rook on d8, right? So it must be on e8. But here he would be losing, right, to rook e5 check. Anyway, he would not check there. Instead, he went with his king And he came here with his king, because 6... And now he made... This is a very, very typical move. Carlsen, you could say, well, why not go instantly to h5 or so? But this is a move, you're not spoiling anything, and you wait for the other one to make a move. And if it's down to 30 seconds, because they were playing plus 30 seconds, it's a very good move, actually. Because what would you do? And he would like to get his king across, and this is very close to the moment when he made this mistake, but it was not here. He played... what did he play here? They made some more meaningless moves, I would say, right? At least the rook landed here, and now this was the moment. No, it was not yet. I have to make one more attempt, and in this moment the rook... No. Okay, sorry. It is... White's move here, and now he came here. Okay, so this was the position, right? I mean, rook h6, no progress because of rook e6, or even the pawn here is hanging. Okay, now Karjakin made this move, and he was always down to seconds, right? So it was 10 seconds or so, and then he made his move, 7 seconds. Once it was 4 seconds, and then he made his move. He's got 34 seconds afterwards. And here, the funny thing is, I mean, I have to answer the phone call and just say I can't speak at the moment. And, okay, this was a position, I'm sure. And this was a good move. But now what would black do? And here, I mean, you would be pretty afraid. And here I have to say, this Jennifer Shahade. Why is whose move is it? Rook f1. But I just made it move king e4, right? Didn't I? Okay, I have to shuffle these moves around again because it was white played king e4. So I have to lose a tempo again. So it's white move. Okay. Okay, I just do it like this, right? This was definitely not the game. But this was a position with black to move. And here, again down to seconds. And you are black. And you are defending for 5 hours against the best player in the world, although you may be pretty close. Like no one else is. Or except Mamedjarov, Caruana and Nakamura, or who else. Anyway, what do you do now with this? It is pretty obvious that you think, well, I'm going to lose here because there's bishop d4. And now the rook is going to come. And how would I defend this, right? Rook is going to come and it's going to attack my 6th rank, and what am I going to do? And of course there is a move here in this position, and you may have seen it because you A, know the game, and B, are a good chess player. But just would like to point out 5 hours of defending against the number 1. I mean, at some point it makes itself felt, right? That you are under this pressure. And at some point you are going to fail. And we would a lot earlier, or myself would. And I found it a bit funny when they were asked about the evaluation, the position, or they were asked to guess the result of the game. Those 3 in the studio. And then Maurice Ashley gave this silly answer. I have to say, I mean, apologies to him, but he gave this silly answer. Well, if I were to play him, it would be a draw. But because it's, if I were white against Karjakin, it would be a draw. But because it's Carlsen, I'm going to say he's going to win it. I mean, this is a bit, yeah, okay. Shouldn't say that. I mean, you would maybe lose with white or with either side. I don't know. I mean, there are positions, and of course he's a grandmaster and so on. But you shouldn't do this comparison, right? I would not win it, but Carlsen does. Yeah, why would you compare these two? I mean Maurice Ashley with Magnus Carlsen. And okay, now Jennifer Shahade comes into play, right? Because I saw that already when she had been ignored, and she's pretty good. I mean in chess and also in commenting. And what she said is, and they all ignored her, right? Or they didn't hear it when she said it. Here's the move rook d8. And white can't make any progress, right? I mean, you get checked from... And that's what Maurice Ashley actually said, and maybe without knowing. But maybe because he saw the computer evaluation and didn't know what white said it, but in the end, he's gonna check to death, he said, from behind. And there is a move rook d8, and what Jennifer Shahade said was very simple. She said he made use of that couple of moves before. So it is obvious that he knew this motive, right? Because we were in this position, and here he made the move rook f7, when you see, well, if he's gonna check me, I'm gonna check myself. And this is the same thing that happened here, right? Or that was to use here. Still, king d3. So, okay. Now check, check, and rook d8. And everything's fine. I mean, if you check, you're gonna lose. Like the moment before, right? He's gonna move his king, your king is checked, and the bishop is falling. Okay, so white would have to put up with a draw, maybe, and maybe the game still would have continued. But it's pretty hard to make any progress from now on, right? There's also no e6 check, right, in this position, because king also goes away and wins the bishop. Okay, so anyway, if you got seconds on the clock and you had been defending for like 5 hours already against the best player in the world, you may still agree that at some point you're bound to make an error. Yeah? You're the first one to blunder. Let's put it like that. Right? So king c6, and this was the losing move. And now it went on with, obviously, and from now on, I mean, I'm always saying when good position, winning position, and so on, all the moves are being played with quite some ease. I don't know if Karjakin may have missed in this position that there is a move e6, but yeah, okay, maybe a point. But what I think is very simple. And here actually it was Seirawan again who blundered, so to say, in the analysis, but he does it in a very charming way, so you wouldn't mind that much, right? How does he zigzag his way up, right? And then he said, yeah, there's king f6, there's rook f1, check. This is also how the game went. And then there's king g6. And, oh, wow, what's this? And the whole game is turning around, right? Because after rook g2, it is white who's going to be checkmated. Or is he winning? Or what is happening? Sorry, I think I made the wrong move. I should go here with my rook. Because I'm stopping bishop e3, right? Anyway, this, of course, it would be a silly move. He didn't see it, it doesn't matter. He covers it with a smile. And he said, oops, oh, I blundered it. And of course, the king went here, and no more checks. This is zigzag up the stairs. Rook g1 is, of course, now a big mistake. Karjakin defended with this move, and very obviously it does not make so much of a difference. And in this position, actually, he played rook e4. Now Carlsen, I mean, of course, everyone saw the win, so to say, with rook e6. And because you say, well, what would you do, right? I mean, if you trade, I'm gonna push this pawn. And if you're not gonna trade, I'll check here. Okay, then I'm gonna play rook f6 and then rook e4 once again. Anyway, but the Carlsen move is better, I think. And actually, Maurice Ashley said that, but most likely because the machine assisted. Now, this was the last move of the game. Actually, a7 is covered. I mean, there would be rook a7, but bishop a7 stops that. So he played rook h8, and I was rook a6. And now Karjakin threw in the towel, as they say, also in German. Throw in the towel. I mean, this is lost. I mean, 3 pawns, and it was obviously, and Karjakin knew that, and he did not even, you didn't have the impression he was really upset. I mean, he just, okay, he accepts his loss, that's A, and he accepts that he makes errors, and he accepts that he lost to the better player, and that at some point he still had enough resources to hold a draw that he knows they both know well. And I think he pointed to the square c6, which said, okay, I know where the error was, but I didn't see the right move in this moment. Anyway, it's a lot of pressure, and Magnus Carlsen also said that after the game, that it's, I tried my very best, and I can't complain about any of my moves, and if you know better, that's not what he said, but that's what he ought to say. What I would like to say, one more thing to point out is that those people sitting at the board there, right, Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karjakin, they beat everyone in the world, except themselves maybe. I mean, they are the best in the world. But what happens now, these days, and this is what I complain about, and I cannot quite accept that, is that there are people sitting around who know the best move. And those are like examinees sitting there, and all the world is watching them, and then, is he gonna find the better move? No, once again he failed. Once again, oh, he failed. Why didn't he find this? And all those genius moves, they are really playing and performing, and like this exchange sacrifice, which is one of the game deciders, so to say, right? They do not have that anywhere on their mind. So this is, I mean, how would they compete with them? I mean, okay, maybe if they would switch off the computer once again and say, okay, I'm gonna think myself, then maybe they would find some good ideas. But here, well, it is a bit annoying, and I would say, really, and I was praising this show, and I would still do, and I would say, well, please make it 95% your analysis. And at some point you may say, because we might be interested, and we might wish to know, and we might also be happy, and sometimes, and if this Maurice Ashley says, oh, he missed this chance here now, and you see a great move, and so on. And then you would say, okay, the show is growing with that, right? It's getting better, because I see some moves that I learned from, and so on, and I would and also some excitement about this show, but not with every move. And then, is he gonna find it? No, he once again failed. No, he didn't. Oh, how could he miss that? Or think things like that. It starts to get a bit annoying, right? They are the best in the world, and never forget that. And if you start to criticize, I mean, I'm saying same in football, right? When those commentators, they are criticizing people that they nowhere near. I mean, we say, bring them the water. I mean, Wasser reichen, we say in German. I don't know the English corresponding proverb. But they are nowhere near, right? They are miles. And this isn't chess, they are chess players, grandmasters, and those football commentators, they are nothing, right? They can't even play, many of them. And they couldn't compete at any level. If they are grandmasters, they can say, well, I could even, well, maybe win half a point here or there against Karjakin, Carlsen, or Kasparov. Or they did already, of course. They beat them once in a while. And so they got a lot more right than those football commentators, right? Still, it is bad behavior, I would say. How can you miss that? Find that. If they were criticizing, that's what I was trying to say. Okay, come sit here and let's play a couple of games, right? That's what I would feel challenged to do. To ask them, right? Sit down, we're gonna play some games of chess. Okay, in case you're criticizing my moves. Anyway, I mean, okay, it's enough, and it's pretty long, and still I hope you take something from that, and I hope you come back, and hope you enjoy. And what did I say? Said that already, right? Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.